This video will help you configure the site-wide SEO settings for your WPHubSite website. Once you're in your website's dashboard, you're going to want to set up all the SEO settings. Those are all your on-site SEO settings. So those are helpful because they help your website get crawled by Google and other search engines. And they'll also help you rank better if you complete all the SEO settings on your blog posts and pages. But the whole site-wide settings need to be configured before you can start configuring everything for individual posts and pages. So the first thing you want to do is go down to SEO. You can go to Dashboard to see an overview of all the things you can do with the SEO settings. But the first place you will want to go to configure is the titles and metas. So this should be enabled by default, but this little toggle right here can be changed for anything. You can turn title and meta information on or off. There's not really a good reason you would want to turn it off unless you just don't want to include any SEO data in your website. But first thing, when you're configuring some of the post types and categories, you want to first configure the separator. You can refer back to this separator in all your formulated configurations, all your formulated titles, and you can even use it in the description. So then if you put a separator in here, and then use a wildcard further in the settings, then you only have to change it in this one place, and then it'll change throughout your whole settings. So if you want to use a hyphen, you can do that. You can use a pipe. You could use a tilde or tilde. You can use anything as your separator. I'm going to go ahead and use the standard hyphen. And then the rest of these settings, this is your site title and meta description. This is going to apply to your home page no matter what page is your home page. I personally don't like to set them in here. I like to set them on the page themselves. If you're changing the front page of your website, or if you use the blog roll as the front of your website, then this is a good option to use these settings, because then these will take precedence over any individual page that is set as your home page. Yeah, the site title of your home page. So you could, like in my case, it would be, so if I set that there and I save those changes, now I'm on the page for the site that I'm editing. You can see it says WPHubSite, a wonderful HubSpot integrated CMS. There you go. And of course, you can also change the meta description. In case you're not familiar with what the site title and meta description are, if you come over to Google here, I have a search already set up here. Right here, this is the site title. So you can set this. Google, of course, can overrule whatever you put in here and put their own site title and meta description, but you give them a good suggestion of what the page is about. And a lot of times Google will use that, but they can also override it depending on what the user searches. So this section is the site title, and this section is the meta description. If you do just stick to site title in here, it's going to actually take the information from your WordPress settings, which you should have already set up. That's over here in settings general, I believe. Yeah, so in the general settings, there's the site title and the tagline, and those are things that you can use in your site title. So you can do site title, separator, tagline. So there it's going to put in the title of your site, the general separator that you've created right here, and then the tagline. So we'll save those changes, and you can see over here, if I refresh this page, the title of the site, hyphen, that's the separator that I put, and then there's the site tagline. Of course, that wouldn't be a very good meta description, but as an example, it's fine. You're also going to want to update single post titles. So these are probably a good idea to keep as the default. You don't want to put anything hard-coded in here. Because this is going to formulate a title based on, it's going to create a site title based on the name of your blog post, because each one is unique, so it'll automatically create the name of the blog post, insert the dynamic separator in there, and then the name of the site it's on. So this one would be the name of the blog post, for my case a hyphen for the separator, and the site title for this one, Arc and Alley. So there you go, it creates that all on its own. You can also use for posts a post excerpt for the meta description. If you update the actual post with its own meta description in the post itself, it's going to overwrite this meta description template. The template is just, it'll use it automatically if there's nothing defined in the post. But if you've defined everything in the post, then that's going to overrule rule these settings. And then as a template, you can also choose how you'd like the your blog post to be indexed. You can choose any of these options. So this will make it a blog post no index, which means Google will not add it to its index. You can make it no follow, which means Google or other search engines won't follow any links that are on this page or on your blog post pages. Now for pages, you have a lot of the same settings, and you can see there's a toggle next to each one. You can turn them on or off. For templates, you definitely want to turn that off, but for posts and pages, you want to keep those. You don't want to display the date in Google search results, so for pages, for posts, you might want to do that, so let's select that. But for pages, I definitely don't want to display dates. And then, of course, post title, separator, site name. But each page you can customize what the site title and the meta description is, and I would encourage you to do that, especially for pages. Templates, again, turn this off. Doesn't need to be there. Admin pages, doesn't need to be there. Once you get all the settings configured the way you want it, just click the Save Changes button. So that's single post types, posts and pages. But there's also archives. These are things like templates you probably don't want to really bother with. Nobody can see the templates anyway. They're not public. Neither are admin pages. Author archives. If you have a reason to publish those, then you can. But really, I encourage you to just don't index them, and also just disable the archives. Then you don't have to worry about those. Same with date archives, just disable them. Search archives, you also do not want to index those. That would create a mess for your site in Google and would confuse search engines and likely hurt your ranking. So don't, no index those. Good setting. And also 404 archives, those aren't going to be indexed by Google. But you can choose what you want the site title and meta description to be for those. So that's the archives, but what about taxonomies? Those are pretty darn important. And whether you index them or not is up to you. Some SEO experts say no index categories and tags. Some say index them. But you can also toggle those on or off, and then you can choose exactly how the site title and the meta description are pulled from the category description or otherwise. And then you can no index them and no follow them. You can do that for both categories and tags. For site builder categories, you really don't need that because nobody can see that anyway, so I'm going to disable it and save changes. And then there are also some advanced settings. You don't need to mess around with these at all, so you can just ignore them. So the next section in the site-wide SEO settings we want to mess around with are the XML and HTML sitemap. These are a sitemap. The XML sitemap is a sitemap that helps Google index your pages. When you set up your site with Webmaster Tools or Search Console or whatever Google's going to call it at this point, by the time you watch this video, it might be named something completely different. But anyway, you can toggle these settings on or off. It's likely that you would want them on. Automatically, your site's going to create a sitemap. You don't have to do anything to create that. You just have to have this Enable XML Sitemap option selected. You can also create an image sitemap. If you have videos on your site, then you can do a video sitemap. You can do an author sitemap, but unless you're publishing a lot of blog posts from different authors, I would not recommend it. Just leave that one disabled. And then the HTML sitemap, you can enable it, but you actually have to create the HTML sitemap that you want for that. I'll go ahead and enable that so I can just show you that real briefly. It'll give you a little short code that you can post on a sitemap page that you have to create, and then it'll create the sitemap for you. So I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. And like I said, if you enabled the XML sitemap, your sitemap's already created. This is the link you can post on your Google Webmaster Tools. I'll go ahead and open it, show you what it looks like. So it actually contains an index that puts the post sitemap, page sitemap, categories, and post tags. If you have videos or images enabled, then you'll also see those. And here's the actual pages for the sitemap. These are the pages in that. But I'm going to close that, and we're going to come over here to post types. This is where you can choose what post types are included in the sitemap. So of course you want to include posts and pages, but you can also include media. I do not recommend you select media, nor do I recommend you select templates or admin pages, because those are not visible publicly anyway. Media is just usually will create a mess for your site and not really look good. So next you want to head over to taxonomies. You can choose to include or exclude categories or tags. Those are up to you. I'd recommend you include them both. Site builder categories, don't include that. It's not visible anyway. So then here we come over to HTML sitemap. Now here is this short code that you can put on any page. Just create a blank page, put that short code in there, save the page, and your HTML sitemap will magically be created for you. You can select certain pages, page IDs or post IDs to be included in your sitemap, or you can exclude certain page IDs, and then you can choose how to sort it, how to order posts. You can also display the date after each post. A lot of different options that you can do there. So let me come back to general. There's one more thing that you need to know about. This flush permalinks option, that's pretty important. If you view your sitemap and it doesn't show up, like you get a 404 error or something like that, just click this flush permalinks button and then that should fix it for you. If it doesn't, just give us a holler and we'll take a look for you. Next up is the social network. So that's over here on the menu on the left. I have it disabled right now, but say I want to use that. I want to provide search engines with all my social media profiles, all the information that helps identify my business online. My webpage, of course, is at the center of that, but there's Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, Twitter profiles, all that good stuff. So I'm going to enable that. And then you can actually, in addition to providing the different social networks that you have, you can provide some information about your business. So you can provide whether you're a person or organization. So type that in there. And then, of course, your organization name. And then you can also include a photo of your organization, a photo of yourself or organization logo. And of course, you can upload that into your index. I already have one here, so I'm going to select that. And then you can put in your phone number, make sure it's an internationalized version, so +1 for United States, whatever, area code, first 3 digits, last 4. And then you can select what that phone number is, so customer support, all these different things. Also, you can select some contact options if you're an organization. So if it's a toll-free number, then select it. If it's hearing impaired supported, select that. And then once you're done there, save the changes. And there you can see my logo is updated in there. But I'm going to go to your social accounts. Those are actually my social accounts. So you want to paste in all your social accounts that you possibly can. This is going to help identify your business to Google, and also if later down the road Google decides to set up a business information about you, you'll see there's a bunch of information consolidated about their business. Phone number, all this, social media profiles. Google will pull that information in from these. Google won't necessarily give you one of those information cards, but this is where it'll get that information if they choose to do so. And then you can also set up Facebook Open Graph. That information, Facebook, if you post any kind of blog post or link or anything onto Facebook, it'll use some of this Open Graph information to provide, images to your posts, titles, meta descriptions, all that. The OG tags or Open Graph tags, those. These are some of your defaults, so you can have like a fallback image if Facebook or other social, more than just Facebook uses Open Graph. So I urge you to set up these settings, set a default thumbnail, and then you can define a custom OG image tag for post types. Don't need to do it for templates or admin pages. And then you can also declare Facebook link ownership. So you'll have to look that up on Facebook. That's a little, how to get this information, your ownership ID, admin ID, Facebook app ID. Those are for like your Facebook pages. You'll have to look that up on Facebook. They have a pretty complex process on how to get that and how to set that stuff up. Twitter cards are a little easier. You just set up some defaults of how you want stuff to turn out on Twitter. And it's pretty cool. You can change to a large format. And then if you if you take a look at Twitter right now, and you can see what stuff looks like on there, how blog posts look. They either have a great big picture or they have a smaller picture with title and more descriptive information. And then you can, of course, choose your defaults. And just make sure your Twitter card is enabled, and then if there's no Twitter card information, use Open Graph. That's always a good option. After you're all done configuring all the social media features, you can then head on over to Redirections. You may not need to mess with this initially because you won't have people going to the wrong pages on your website, but you can keep track of 404 errors. So if people are going to the wrong page, then they'll show up in here. If you change the name of a page, something like that. But you can also just create redirects in here. So say you want to create maybe a affiliate link, something like that. You can do that. That then goes to your page, or that you can use to refer to easily. You can just click on the Add Redirections button, and then you can add a URL here. Like, so say you want Amazon to go to your Amazon affiliate link. So then you can put that in here. You can enable the redirection, and then you can type or put your affiliate link in here. So once you do that, you can, and of course you want a permanent change, and publish that. And then you can test the redirection. So it's going to test out that you don't want that extra slash in there. You just want to put the name of it, because if you do test redirection, now it has the domain / Amazon. So you don't want to include the slash in there. Just one slash or no slash at the front and the one slash at the back. So once you update that, then our test redirection link is going to be correct. So if I click on it, it's actually going to redirect to Amazon. So you can do that with any kind of redirects for your website. Easy way to do affiliate links and remember them. And then also in the redirections location, any 404 redirects that happen are going to show up in there. They'll show up in red with a 404 instead of 301. 301 means it's a permanent redirect. 404 means somebody visited a page and that page on your website did not exist. So they got an error message. If you get something like that for a page that used to exist on your website, then you can create a redirect for that. So in order to ensure that 404 errors are turned on, you come over here in the Pro section. These should be enabled by default, but if not, you go into the 404 tab over here and enable 404 monitoring, and then just make sure you enable automatically delete 404 after 30 days. You don't want to slow down your website, and that could happen if you're not deleting the 404 errors. And then also you have the option to redirect all 404s to like your home page or another URL. That is not good SEO practice and is not recommended. You also don't want to redirect to a specific URL. So once you can also enable emailing. When a 404 is created, you could possibly get a lot of emails because there's a lot of bots that will visit web pages and test different URLs to see if there's vulnerabilities they can exploit. So you're going to get alerts for each one of those too, which is a huge mess for you. So I do not recommend turning that on, but you can if you want. You're going to get an email every time a 404 is created. You have to put your email in there and save the changes. You can see I already have the settings enabled in there. So if I go to this website and type in a non-existent page, I'm going to get a 404 error. Oh, the page doesn't seem to exist. That's not good if you change the URLs of a page. So if I come over here into the redirections, there I can see a 404 was created. So anybody visiting that page is going to get a 404. But say this page used to actually be something, and then I want to actually forward that page that people are going to, and I want to forward it to its new URL. So I can actually put in. So this is the new page. This is a non-existent page. I deleted that and say I created this new URL. So I can put in the new URL, enable the redirection, and update it. And now that redirection is created, so if I refresh this 404 page that I previously had, now it's going to go to the new page. So now you can see the page was redirected to the page that I had put in. This is just a quick page that I created in another tutorial video. So just make sure you enable the redirection, put in the new URL, and you're good to go. You should never mess around with the query parameters unless you know exactly what you're doing and how to use them. This video is not going to go over that level of details. You would only use them in very specific circumstances. You're better off just not messing with them because they can break a whole lot of things on your website. So if I go back to redirections, there you can see my new redirection that I created based off of the 404, and instead of 404 now, it's a 301 redirect. And you can see how many times people have hit that, the original URL and have been redirected. So these next features are for if you're a local business and you have a storefront, an address, a physical location, and you want Google to know, or Google and other search engines to know where you're located and how your business connects to your address, for your virtual front to your actual physical front. So to do that, come over here into Pro on the dashboard. And then there's a section over here called Local Business. It's already by default on that section. That's the first section. And then make sure when you're doing this, you enable the setting first with this toggle. So you can display the local business schema on any page you want, but your home page is the default. That's probably best to stick with that. And then, of course, this I just want to emphasize that if you have a local business that has a physical storefront, this part is extremely important. Schema is very, very valuable for your website. It's one of the most important on-page SEO features currently. So of course you want to select your business type. There's a whole bunch of different categories that you can select here. I'm going to choose automotive business, and then of course put your street address, your city, state, zip code, or if you're out of the United States, postal code, what country you're in, and then you can also put a GPS crosshair location for your business. You can get this information from Google Maps. It'll actually show up the URL. It'll show up in the URL, or you can go to a site that allows you to get the latitude and longitude of your business. So I'll put some links and stuff to help you out to do that in the description. And then of course there's a place ID that's to connect this local business information to your Google Maps location. And then you can use this link right here to get that information. That's going to bring you to the Google Developer Center. So you can search for your business in here and get the location ID. And then of course this is your website URL, the full URL to your web homepage. And then your telephone number, that needs to be the international format, so plus, and then the area country code. So if you're in the United States, +1, and then your area code, and then the phone number. And then price range, you can put in whatever your price range is. It's usually from $1, euro sign, pound sign, whatever your denomination is, 1 through 5 or 4 of those to kind of signify that's just, best judgment. Do you serve the higher end, or do you serve the lower end? Doesn't really hold a lot of sway for anybody, but it's nice to have. And then if you selected the business type food establishment, bakery, any of these down below, you also want to include your cuisine served. Of course, if I selected automotive, so you'd leave that blank. And then you can choose hours. So what hours, what hours you're open from and to. So as far as opening hours, you want to put these in 24-hour time. So open till 8 o'clock. So 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 200 hours. And then if you're closed any days, you can put, Saturday, Sunday closed. And then once you get all your local business schema information in here, just click the Save button. And that's it. Your website will now be equipped with your local business information. And Google will be able to search that information, and it'll help Google get a better understanding of what your business is all about. Not only Google, of course, but other search engines too. Of course, Google being the most important, but they're still not all of the market share. They're only 64%, whatever. So there's a pretty good chunk of audience out there that uses other search engines, but luckily a lot of search engines will use these same features, the schema features, things like that, or even Open Graph that you set up in the social networks section. Okay, there is actually more to structured data. Structured data is another term for schema. So you can do things like enable double and core. That gives a little additional information about your website. All you have to do is check that box and save this changes. Not a whole lot of things you can do to it, just enable it. And then over here, come to structured data. This section does actually have quite a bit of useful information about your website. So you want to enable it if it's not already with the toggle. And then you want to enable the structured data types right here. Click that box, make sure it's selected, and then upload an image. So that's going to be your business logo. There's a bunch of rules that you have to follow. These are Google guidelines. Your image is not going to be accepted, and it's not going to help you if you don't follow these rules. There's very specific size that you want your logo to be located in. So these, if you follow all these instructions, they're going to help, your business information show up in search engines better. And then you can also add a site navigation to your website. So I'm going to choose primary menu. It's going to say this is the most important menu, most important links on my website. Check out these. And Google may choose to use those for certain features in their search engine, which may emphasize those links directly to the different pages on your website. Once you've configured everything in here, save changes. You can see I uploaded a logo, but it's definitely not within these guidelines, but this is not a site that's actually going to be indexed or matters in any way. Okay, so that's all kind of the generic schema. Of course, there's several other things over here that you can mess with. I'm not going to go over those because they're just not important enough for every website. In fact, very few websites are all these settings important enough. But one thing that is important for any website, and you should consider configuring, are customized schemas. So you can come over into the dashboard under schema, and you can create custom schemas like for blog posts or products, things like that. You can select any, you've already created local business schema, so probably don't want to do that again. But if you're a news website, you can create an article schema, frequently asked questions schema, all kinds of different things. So I'm going to create an article schema, and then of course you can choose what kind of post type gets that schema. I want posts, blog posts, to get that schema type. So I'm going to select that. Post type is equal to posts. It's going to get this article schema. And then I can select different things like what kind of article type is it? Is it a news article, report? My specific type that I'm going to select is blog posting. This is a blog post. So I'm creating this for my blog, and it's blog post. So the headline is, of course, going to be the post title, not the site title, because it's not for your website. This is the individual blog post. So select that for the headline. For the image, you can just select the featured image, because if you upload a featured image for your blog post, then it's best to just pull that into also the schema image. And then, of course, there's a recommended size. The coverage start date's not really relevant. In fact, you could choose a publish date, and the start time also not really relevant. If it was actually a news article instead of a blog post, I could put this information. But you don't have to select anything for these. You can just choose, okay, publish date. Publish date. You could just put the same date in there for both, and you don't have to put a time. And then once you've created a schema, first you have to name the schema. So I just named it blog post, and I'm going to publish it. And now every single blog post will get this schema type, and it'll pull this information into it for each one. If I come back here to schemas, you can see I have my blog post schema created here. And then you can have multiple schemas. You can have ones assigned to different types of pages or posts on your website. And that'll help your pages, that'll help your website provide more information to search engines that can then do better at ranking your pages and giving it the rightful place in the search engine that you deserve for good quality content. So that's it for the site-wide SEO settings. Once you've done all that, put in all those settings, you are good to go for doing the rest of your website setup. Make sure you go through all the getting started articles, because once you complete all those, you're going to have a good foundation for your website that will then allow you to do a lot of more advanced features and design stuff that you want to do with your WPHubSite website. If you have any questions, of course, you can leave it in the description or just contact us. I'll put a link where you can contact us in the description. We're always here to help. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.